We are going to now go into a series of open-ended questions. This segment here is super valuable, okay, in teaching you to really asking questions that open people up, open the core, and get to what you need. So I'm going to give you, just like a drill, a couple of quick exercises here. Is number one, open-ended questions gets to really know your prospect, right? Open-ended questions are questions that cannot be answered by yes or no. And the goal is to find the real challenges, frustrations, and reasons. So who, what, where, why, how. Okay, you want to get to the core. So here's some open-ended questions. You never want to say, do you want to make this extra money? Right? That's a yes or no. That's bad. Or do you want more time with your family? Yes. And it ends, right? You're not going to really know your prospect. So you want to end, and questions are who, what, where, why, how. How would you like to spend more time with your family? What would you do if you had more time with your family? Correct? That all of a sudden the person will start talking more. And then you can, again, find more things to find, to build commonality on, and you get to know the prospect better, the real dreams, goals, and whys. So here are some examples of open-ended questions. So you talk to your university friend, and she says to you, I'm so frustrated and confused about school and the classes I'm taking. I don't see how all this study is going to help me do the things I want to do later on in life. So what would you say? I'll give you a second. You talk to your university friend, and she says to you, I'm so frustrated and confused about school and the classes I'm taking. I don't see how all this study is going to help me do the things I want to do later on in life. So good question is, what would you want to do later in life? Okay, next one. You meet a friend who just started his new job, and he's complained that he hates his job already because his boss is a jerk. The situation is, I'm going to repeat it again. You meet a friend who just started his new job, and he's complaining that he hates his job already because his boss is a jerk. You can say, what do you plan to do about it? Next one. You run a newspaper ad, and you call this lead. This lead says he wants to earn some extra money. What would you say? So I'll repeat it again. You run a newspaper ad, and you call this lead. The lead says he wants to earn some extra money. What would you say? You can say, how much extra income are you looking for? How much extra income are you looking for? Here's another situation. Your new friend just started a new job, and you ask him whether he likes it. He says no, and that this job is just a temporary job until he finds something else. Okay, we'll repeat the situation. Your new friend just started a new job, and you ask him whether he likes it. He says no, and his job is just a temporary job until he finds something else. What would you say? What type of job are you looking for? Okay, here's another situation. At a high school reunion, your old friend tells you that he's been working at the same company for past 10 years. What would you say? At a high school reunion, your old friend tells you that he's been working at the same company for past 10 years. You must love this job. What makes the job so great? Okay? Again, that's a good example. If you say, oh, why would you stay in the same company for 10 years? Then they're going to get defensive. Compliment them, right? Disagree by agree. You must love your job. What makes this job so great? And they will actually say, oh, it's actually not that great. It is this and that, right? Okay, here's another situation. Your friend that got his MBA a year ago and now has a new job. You ask him how his job is, and he says, it's just a job. Okay, your friend that got his MBA a year ago and now has a new job. You ask him how his job is, and he says, it's just a job. You can ask him, what would you like to do? Another situation. You bump into a friend who is a successful real estate agent. Your friend is excited and says he loves being in the real estate industry. What could you say? You bump into a friend who is a successful real estate agent. Your friend is excited and says he loves being in the real estate industry. You ask him, what do you like most about selling houses? Okay, what do you like most about selling houses? Another situation. You're at the grocery store and you bump into your friend who has 6 cartons of blueberries in his cart. What would you say? You're at a grocery store and you bump into a friend who has 6 cartons of blueberries in his cart. Wow, you can say, that's a lot of blueberries. Are you making something special? Okay, wow, that's a lot of blueberries. Are you making something special? Got a couple more of these situations. You're at a restaurant waiting for a table and notice that the guy standing in line next to you is someone that you've seen many times on a soccer field. Okay, you're at a restaurant waiting for a table and notice that a guy standing in line next to you is someone that you have seen many times on a soccer field. What would you say? Hey, I've seen you on the soccer field before, right? Your friend just got a new job serving the ministry at the local church. She tells you that the work is rewarding, but she works 8 hours a day for 7 days a week. What would you say? Your friend just got a new job serving the ministry at the local church. She tells you that work is rewarding, but she works 8 hours a day for 7 days a week. What would you say? You can compliment them and say, that's really admirable. What would you do? You can compliment them. That's really admirable what you do. Is this something else in life you want to do? Here's the situation. Your friend finds out that you're in network marketing and tells you he's been researching different network marketing companies for a while. God, this is a good one. Your friend finds out that you are in network marketing and tells you that he has been researching different network marketing companies for a while. What would you say? I know you're probably dying to tell you how great your company is, right? But here's something better. What have you found so far? Okay, and then the follow-up question is, what are some qualities you look for? Again, don't be the salesperson, be the advisor, right? The advisor, if salesperson say, whoa, check out my company, my product, my company's way better. But advisor will say, what have you found so far? What are some qualities you look for? So go over these open-ended questions. They're going to be really helpful for you. The more you listen to this again and again, the more you get in the flow of asking these open-ended questions of who, what, where, why, how, you get better being a better communicator, getting people to really open up and connect. Not only would it connect with them better by finding commonality, but you get to know the real why. Now, here's an important rule when you're asking a question, again, and we're going to talk about this also during the closing module, getting people started module, is when you ask a question, don't break the silence. Okay, so am I asking you a question, what do you like best about this presentation? Or what have you found? You've been researching network marketing companies. What have you found so far? Don't break the silence. The first person that loses speaks. Okay, the first person that speaks loses. Why? Because you're letting people off the hook. Okay, when you ask a question, know that there will be a silence. It's like being a teacher that gives a test. This is what happens. It's like being a teacher, being a teacher that gives a test, and when the student can't answer it and takes time to think, the teacher bails them out by giving them the answer before the student says anything. Would a teacher ever do that? No, they won't, right? Now let me ask you, would the student respect the teacher? No, the next time the student would just be silent and know that the teacher will give him the answer, right? So it's the same thing. You ask a question, but the reason you ask a question is because you want the process to think and make a decision or share things with you, right? But when you say anything to break up the silence, you basically tell the prospect like they don't need to make a decision and take action. The prospect will lose respect for you as a communicator. So for example, when's the best time for you to get started? And you just let there be silence. If there's silence and the prospect's afraid to make a decision, and all of a sudden you start you start saying, and the big mistake that most people do is they give more information, okay? More information is not better, okay? More information is not better. What you want is more authority. Authority comes from silence, right? Don't break down. They actually done a study where I think the average American can take only 13 seconds of silence, while in Asia, they can take up to 30 seconds, all right? Force the person to make a decision. And remember, we're not manipulating the prospect, because if you really believe in your business and products help people, then we're in to help people, right? If you're not a good communicator, if people are not respecting you because you're always talking and breaking the silence, how can you help people, right? It's just like teacher gives tests so that student studies. It makes the student's life better. We ask prospect questions to get them to think and take action. Often they're uncomfortable questions, but they make a prospect think about their lives and change. Why? Because we get to make people's lives better. So very important. We're not manipulating people. I'm teaching with this stuff so we can help. Now, a couple other things is you don't want to interrogate, right? And whenever you're asking questions, I had mentioned before the 3-sentence formula. So review. Share 2-3 sentences of personal things related to subject, but you always end with a question. And the rule is whoever asks the question controls the conversation. Okay, whoever asks the question controls the conversation. So you always want to be in control. When you talk, and people get bored, they start asking questions, asking you questions, then they have taken control of the conversation. Think about this. It's like a ping pong or playing tennis, right? Or volleyball. Whoever's serving has control. So when you are asking questions, it's kind of like you get to serve. You get to ask. You're controlling the conversation, guide the conversation where you want. But once you start talking too much, you know what? The prospect is just going to get bored. They're going to start asking you questions. Hey, so what's this about? So tell me more. Right? Then they are in control of the conversation. So remember, the person who asks the question controls the conversation. Now we're going to talk about the 4 personality types real quickly, yeah, and how just to go over it, and then before we wrap up this module, and you probably heard of these. These are called dolphins, whales, urchins, sharks, but I just call them very simple to easy because sometimes people can't remember the animals or the different colors. It's just a nurturer. Someone's nurturer is relationship driven. Then you have a socializer. Someone's creative and fun driven. You have a thinker, who's data driven by data. And then you have a director who's goal and challenge driven. And you make sure you want to listen. Okay? When you're listening, asking questions, find out what personality type they are because they'll allow you to connect with them better. So nurturers, they emphasize relationships and how you help others. Okay, they're into charity, helping community, social work, saving lives. The nurturers. Socializers, these emphasize the business. You have to emphasize the business a ton of fun. Meet new friends. For example, go to new countries. These are the things you emphasize when talking about your business. Right? For again, nurturer, you're talking about how you can help people, charity, growing your community. Maybe your product is a health product and save lives, right? If your green product is good for the trees. Socialize, you just want to have fun. The thinker is the analytical person. This person, you need to give out the details. You need to provide the data. And you let them research. You got to let them think about it. And then the director, these are like sometimes people call the sharks. Right? You have to motivate them. For example, if they can be successful elsewhere, could they do it in this business? So if you've been a very successful business person, can you do it in this business? Right? If you've been very successful in your community, you're saying you can be successful on stage at our company. Right? You challenge them. Show them the opportunities for recognition, and then show them the lifestyle. They have big egos and big prides. So those are the 4 types. Those are the things you emphasize. And really, in terms of commonality, again, you want to be a chameleon, right? What is a chameleon? A chameleon changes shapes. So you want to be a chameleon. What's a chameleon? A chameleon changes colors, right? So just like doesn't matter what is nurturer, socialize your prospects, a nurturer, talk nurturer. Be a nurturer. Be someone that's really into relationships, caring, helping. Socializer, be with someone that emphasizes fun. If someone's a thinker, be really data-driven. Stats, research, studies. If you're a director, challenge them. Quick talk. Cut the BS, go straight to the point. Right? So you want to be a chameleon. Study those 4 personalities. Okay, the whole training itself in terms of how you can recognize them. That's a whole training itself. I'm not going to go into detail. But once you know those 4, the goal is to be a chameleon. And you probably know, again, think about it. It goes back to commonality, right? People like people who are in common. So people like personality types was one big part of it. So you want to mirror them as well. All right, some last couple of things, networking tips. Because I know going to networking events is extremely important. Networking tips here to build your contact list. When you go to events are a great place to meet people, okay? And also think long term. Don't think of going there. I think a mistake is I'm going to go and get prospects today. No, Go there and meet friends. Meet friends. Think long term. And you want to go for quality instead of quantity. I've seen, I'm sure you've been to events where someone goes out there and they just whips out these business cards, right? You get tons of business cards and you go home. Do you remember anyone? No, you don't remember a single person. So go for quality instead of quantity. It's better to have one or two really good relationships that a person remember you, talk to you, remember the details, than meeting all these people you don't remember who the heck they are. And next thing is the small talk is the big talk. The small talk. So what's small talk? What sport teams they like, how many kids they have, what do they do in their free time, what hobbies, are they a skier, do they play recreational football, whatever, do they play amateur basketball before? The small talk is the big talk. Why? Because this is how people remember. And also this is how relationships are built. And also commonality, right? People, if you find something in common, how do you get the person to like you? People are not going to like you because you have business or products. Okay, get that out of your head. People are not going to like you for your business. What they're going to like you is, do they have something in common with you? So the small talk, especially if you find something in common, go spend time talking about it. You don't need to spend time talking about your business. Here's the reason why. Because afterwards, when you follow up, just say you follow up with someone. I met someone at an event and we talked it could be anyone, right? Do you think you have time to really do small talk and talk about the kids and hobbies during a normal day? No, you don't. You don't. The best time for that is at events, at the bar, the lounge, at the pub, in the hallway. That's the time to do the small talk. And here's another thing you're going to remember. We'll talk about this in the follow-up. Some of the tools I use, write them on the phone, write them in Evernote. You will write down the details of the small talk. That's something I do. I always remember the small details, how many kids they have, how old they are. That is the important stuff, okay? The small talk is the big talk. Now, another thing about networking tips, you want to find ways to help someone provide value. Most of the people, they go to networking events, try to sell something. Okay, that doesn't work. Instead, find ways to support and provide value. So what are some ways? Real quickly, right? Financial things. So give them money. Be a customer or give a referral. Connections. Maybe if it's not a referral, maybe connect with someone that you feel that can help them, right? Top leaders do that all the time. They're connecting people. Another thing is inspire. Maybe you want to inspire them. Maybe give them a phone call, a text message later on. Or you support them in some way, right? They're for a cause. You support them. So different ways. Find ways to provide value. Always give. Give first, and you'll get it back later. But give. Focusing on the giving. And later on, all come back to you again. And also write things down, okay? Write the details down because the details are important. Again, what details? The personal stuff, the small talk. How many business have? Where did they go to school? What do they like to do? What's their first job? Small little details. That is the big thing because the only time, the small talk builds the commonality, gets people to like you. And that's the best time to do it is at an event, especially with cold market. If you're in the business, just so you met a real estate agent, when you call them during the day, the real estate agent is really, or even at night, the real estate agent is busy during the closing deals. They're busy. The only time they can even talk about their golf game, right, is when they meet you at an event. So becoming a better communicator is telling the posture and confidence. What I share is by consistent action. Okay, consistent action, doing it over and over and over all the time. So go out there, go to events, practice, learn to ask open-ended questions. Go out there, do it consistently. You get better and better. And the rule of communications, again, is all about helping others. Okay, helping others. The famous line by Zig Ziglar: if you help enough people get what they want in life, you get everything you want in life. Helping people. Don't think about, you're not here to find or hunt for prospects. Make friends and provide value, helping people. All right, so set some homework for you for this module. Go out and meet 3 new friends this week without sharing your business. Okay, maybe that'd be tough for you. Go out there, go to an event, or it could be at a school event with your kids, another parent. Go out and meet 3 new friends this week without sharing your business. Now, you may say, why, Simon? Isn't this about building a business? Yes. Don't worry. You share with them later on. We'll talk about this in the module that talks about cold markets. You'll get there, okay? But build relationships first. The people who are top leaders, they always focus on relationship first. Also, practice asking your 3 favorite open-ended questions. What are your 3 favorite open-ended questions? right? I'll give you one of my favorite. So, to me, what do you do for a living? Okay, that's one. That seems so simple, right? How did you get involved in that career? That's another one. Another one is, if someone was going to get into that career, what advice could you give them? Okay, 3 open-ended questions that not is yes. That's not the answer is not yes or no. So I'll just give you my 3. I'm going to repeat them again. Number 1 is what do you do for work? Number 2 is how did you get involved in that career? Number 3, if someone's going to start in that career, what advice could you give them? And I'm telling you, my friends, you say that, people start talking on and on and on. And the more they talk, the more they'll like you. Third homework is find a way to provide value to those 3 new friends you met. Okay, so those 3 new friends you're going to meet this week, what type of value can you provide? Okay, find ways. Was it financial, connecting, inspiring them? What are they? Find a way. So that's it. There's your homework. Go out and meet 3 new friends. Practice asking your 3 favorite open-ended questions and find ways to provide value to those 3 new friends. That's it for this module. This is a good one. Make sure you go back to it over and over again. And remember, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you get everything you want in life. Stop seeing people as putting dollar signs in their head and build a genuine friend instead. And listen way more than you talk.